SpongeBob is supposed to be silly and awesome. You know, comfort food for the brain. But sometimes it was traumatizing. You remember this, even if you wish you didn't. And if you grew up in the early 2000s, this scene burned into our brains. Or if you were like me, you never looked at toenail clippers the same way again. Somehow, this adorable nautical fever dream managed to give us childhood PTSD, just with one overambitious house tour and one very unlucky foot. It's a quiet afternoon in Conch Street. Squidward's at home, tea in hand, cookies stacked up, humming along to his favorite show, House Fancy. It's like MTV Cribs for the 1%, where snobs show off their jacuzzis, chandeliers, and mahogany bidets. He's vibing, life is good, until Squilliam shows up.
Hello, peasants.
Now, if you grew up on SpongeBob, you know what's coming. Squilliam Fancyson, Squidward's rich, smug high school rival, is back. And this time, he's not just flexing his cash. He's doing a live home tour, showing off jewel-encrusted toilet paper holders, a whirlpool elevator, and yes, a 130-foot golden unibrow statue. Naturally, Squidward loses it. His ego's bruised, his pride's aching. He panics, calls the House Fancy program, and somehow ends up promising a live TV tour of his own house in just 2 hours, just to prove he's better than Squilliam's. And that's when it all goes to hell, because, of course, SpongeBob shows up. Uninvited, unbothered, already halfway through the window like a raccoon, he offers to help, and Squidward, running out of time, gives him one simple job. Just paint over this tiny faded spot on the wall. So, what does SpongeBob do? Turns the entire room into a modern art disaster.
Well, it all looked kind of faded.
Now they're in panic mode. The house looks like it was attacked by a colorblind tornado. Led by desperation, Squidward tells SpongeBob to help move the sofa, and that's when it happens.
Now don't move it till I say, ow! Okay, it's on my foot. Now don't.
Okay.
Ow!
The toenail scene. SpongeBob moves the sofa, too early, and smashes it into Squidward's foot. Repeatedly, back and forth. It's not just a crunch, it's a wet snap. A squelch that plays in your head years after you hear it. A scene that no kid was emotionally ready for. Not then, not now. But wait, the disaster is just warming up. Squidward tells SpongeBob to vacuum the mess, but ends up vacuuming all the furniture and also vacuuming himself in the process. Squidward's on the verge of a mental breakdown, and who shows up at the door? It's Patrick. He just wants to use the toilet, also breaking it by flushing something that can only be described as an abomination. Seriously, what did my guy eat this morning? Then the vacuum just explodes, finishing all the chaos. The house is ruined, the dream is over. Or is it? Because in some wild twist of fate, the host, Nikki, sees the destroyed mess and calls it post-primitive brilliance.
What you have done here harkens back to the illustrious post-primitive movement popularized by famous designer Saul Limkins.
Don't ask me why. Squidward wins, and he's crowned the House Fancy Prince of the Year. Yep, despite the drama, Squidward actually wins. It's one of those rare moments where Squidward gets a W over Squilliam, and hey, good for him. But let's be honest, it's not what anyone remembers. What we do remember is that toenail. SpongeBob has plenty of gross moments over the years, but this one was different. It felt personal. Because unfortunately, this pain is relatable in the worst possible way. If you ever stubbed your toe on a table leg, this scene unlocked a new fear. Even now, people still talk about it. It's the most goriest thing SpongeBob has done. I actually got a toenail torn off once, and now I can't watch that scene without feeling the pain. Or even, I can't look at my own toes without having a PTSD flashback from that scene. And honestly, I don't blame you. You're just vibing, laughing, enjoying some dumb cartoon one afternoon, and then BAM! Toenail. But aside from the toenail scene, the rest of the episode is actually great. The dialogue is funny, Squilliam is there, good toilet joke, Patrick won. And for once, Squidward is actually winning. Hell yeah. But maybe that's why this episode sticks with us. For a lot of us, House Fancy was the first time SpongeBob really betrayed our trust. It lulled us in with comedy and left us limping out, holding our feet. And as bad as House Fancy was, it wasn't even the worst pain, because Nickelodeon looked at the toenail scene and said, let's make a whole episode like that. If you thought one moment was bad, try a full 11 minutes of squishy and festering thumb pain. This one starts with the Krusty Krab. Everything's normal, SpongeBob's on his usual energy, opening the restaurant, stacking ingredients, tossing buns with his bums, the regular OSHA violations. And then, he falls. Right into a pile of swords and scissors and broken jars of tartar sauce. But somehow, none of that hurts him. What does hurt him, however, is when he trips after that. The splinter scene. And this isn't just a regular splinter. It's grotesque. It's jammed so deep into his thumb, it might have hit bone. The animators clearly did not hold back. We see him try to pull it out, first gently, then with spatulas, then with his teeth. The animators, they zoom in on every failed attempt. You can hear the skin stretching, you feel the pain. By minute 4, SpongeBob's thumb looks like it's made of rotten ham, and it only gets worse. At this point, SpongeBob starts losing it. He's trying to hide the splinter to avoid being sent home, which, honestly, relatable. Nothing strikes fear in the heart of a workaholic like forced time off. Squidward sees this as his golden opportunity and turns into a corporate narcissist faster than you can say unpaid leave. He even flushes SpongeBob's hat and spatula down the toilet, enjoying the drama. But here's the thing. Both Squidward and Krabs don't care about SpongeBob's well-being. This whole episode is corporate satire wrapped in biological horror. SpongeBob is literally falling apart at the thumb, and everyone's like, but did the patties get flipped? And as if things are not bad enough, SpongeBob turns to the worst possible choice, Dr. Patrick. That's right, SpongeBob calls Patrick for medical help. And this man shows up in a garbage can wearing a stethoscope made of soup lids. Patrick tried DIY surgery, tried garbage therapy, says it'll help relieve the pressure. SpongeBob's sweating, fading, his thumb is throbbing, pulsing, nothing is going well for him. Eventually, Mr. Krabs shows up, sees the thumb, and nearly faints. But the splinter? He pulls it out effortlessly. The pain ends with a pop, a confetti explosion, and more pus. Because what's a trauma if not festive? The ending joke is supposed to be about workers' compensation and how Squidward injures himself for money. But let's be real, no one remembers that. All we remember is the thumb. That swollen, infected, and pulsating nightmare of a thumb. The crazy thing is, the tension of this episode isn't even about the plot. It's about how much more disgusting can this get before someone passes out. And spoiler alert, that someone is us. Let me be honest, I couldn't even finish this episode when I was a kid. I had to turn it off halfway. It made me afraid of splinters. Every time I got one after that, I half expected it to explode or start pulsing. And again, I wasn't the only one. It's been over a decade since season 6 aired, and yet people still talk about these episodes. They still bring them up in comment threads, in the comments, in therapy. Sometimes it doesn't take a horror movie to traumatize a kid. Sometimes all it takes is a splinter. Looking back now, you can't help but ask the question, why did Nickelodeon let this happen? I mean, seriously, those episodes didn't just flirt with being gross. It sprinted past the line, popped it like a pimple, and rubbed it on your screen. But I don't think it was a mistake. This was the era. Season 6 and 7 of SpongeBob were a whole different beast. The art style changed, characters looked more stretched, more exaggerated, like living rubber bands. The writing leaned way harder into shock value, less story, more slapstick, more close-ups, more pus, more why is this even allowed to air energy. Episodes like To Love a Patty, Pet or Pests, Stuck in the Ringer, all had that same gross, almost mean-spirited edge. The show had already peaked in popularity, and now they were experimenting, seeing how far they could stretch things. Some people think they were trying to chase the shock humor of adult cartoons, like Family Guy or Ren and Stimpy, even early South Park. Others say the writers were just burnt out and throwing spaghetti at the wall, trying to make the kids laugh with slapstick pain and gooey zoom-ins. But the weird part? It kinda worked. People kept watching even if it made them gag. Cartoons can go wild with the logic, the physics, the jokes, but pain? Pain hits different. It sticks. When you're just a kid, you don't have the language to process it. You just know you got a splinter once, and it hurt, and now SpongeBob is making it 10 times worse. You see Squidward's toenail get ripped off and your own toes start curling. Your brain works that way. And even years later, that part of your brain still tenses up when someone says, house fancy. You still flinch when you move a couch. You still hesitate before pulling out a splinter. They taught us how fragile comfort can be, how fast a joke can become a nightmare, how one moment can ruin your whole day and stay in your head for years. That's actually kind of powerful, right? We always say, it's just a cartoon. But episodes like House Fancy and The Splinter prove it's never just that. So yeah, thanks for that, Spongebob. And if a cartoon about a sponge can still make you curl your toes 15 years later, maybe it was doing something more than just being gross. Or maybe Nickelodeon just lost its damn mind for a while. Either way, the damage is done. But we might not be the only ones suffering from Spongebob back then. Because if you remembered, our parents also hate one specific episode. The one we talked about in our previous video, Why Did Parents Hate This Spongebob episode? You might want to check that. See you there.